let's go now to our guest for today, Boris Veldhuizen van Zanten. Am I saying that nearly right?
Well, you missed my 4 first names, but that's okay.
Okay. Oh, speaking of, I have 6 questions for you now, for people who don't know you as well. 6 and 60.
I'm ready.
60 seconds. Here we go. What's your middle name?
Boris. So my first name is Boris, then Theodorik Krelis Victorson.
You're not kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Wow. Okay. So
it's
you're
great
like
when you get a speeding ticket because you got to spell it all out. And they are more annoyed at the end of it than I am.
brilliant. Did you have pets as a kid?
I did. Yeah, pigeons.
Pigeons.
Yeah, like 20 or 30 at a time.
He's getting more interesting by the moment, isn't it? Okay. Brothers and sisters?
Sister.
Okay. Older or younger?
Older.
Older, got it. Okay. What is the movie that you've watched the most times?
Oh, the Blues Brothers.
Oh,
I
nice.
like 200 times.
Oh my God. Okay, it's dark and we're wearing sunglasses. What is an app that you've recently deleted?
Oh, I delete many apps all the time.
Got it. So well, that works. And how about an underrated tech? Anything underrated tech? Something that you've been championing lately?
Right. I love TripIt. It's a service that organizes your travel, and it's really amazing.
TripIt.
TripIt.
TripIt. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, TripIt.com.
Got it.
It's an old service, but it works magically.
Okay.
You get a ticket from the airline, forward to them. They make an itinerary, and it's beautiful.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that's a plug for TripIt. But let's get a plug for your own. The next web.
Yeah.
The next web started how? 10 years ago or so, and it's just blossomed, right?
Yeah. It's a happy accident. We had a startup. We wanted it to launch at a conference, but we couldn't afford to sponsor one. And we said, hey, how hard can it be? Let's organize our own event. Yeah. It's harder than you think. But we had our first event 3 months later, which is too short to organize an event. I learned all this now in 10 years. Yeah. And then by the time we had the event, we weren't ready to launch a startup yet. So this is all like failure stacked on failure. But the event itself was great fun. People loved it. And I said, well, I'm sure you have to organize another one next year. Yeah. And we did. And the rest is history.
Okay.
Now 10 editions.
Well, I'll get back to some more specifics in a moment. But, they also talk about tech stuff at TEDx, for example. And I think we have a clip from our producer, Jeremy. I wanted to share this little clip just as a sort of jumping off point.
Today's internet is really a fortuitous accident. It's a combination of an initial lack of commercial interests, of government benign neglect, of some military requirements for survivability and resilience, and a bunch of computer engineers building open systems that work simply and easily. We're at the beginning of some critical debates about the future of the internet. Law enforcement, surveillance, corporate data collection, cyber war, information consumerism, and on and on and on. This is not going to be an easy period as we try to work this out. I mean, historically, no shift in power has ever been easy. Corporations have turned the internet into an enormous revenue generator, and they're not going to back down. Right? Neither will governments who have harnessed the internet for control. And these are all very complicated political and technological issues. But we all have a duty to tackle this problem. I don't know what the result is going to be, but I hope that when generations from now, society looks back on us in these early decades of the internet, they're not going to be disappointed. And this is only going to happen if each one of us engages, makes us a priority, and participates in the debate. We need to decide on the proper balance between institutional and distributed power, and how to build tools that amplify what is good in each while suppressing what is bad. Thank you.
Bruce Schneider from TEDx in Cambridge. Well, hopefully, he brought up a whole lot of points there. How many of those sound recognizable for you as
all of them, yeah. So, the incredibly interesting thing about working in technology is that development speed up, right? As new possibilities are added, new technologies are invented, you see more new possibilities by combining stuff. So what we see is that the next 10 years are going to be more exciting than the past 10 years. Which is very difficult for people to grasp, right? They think,
well, the whole pace of change is already pretty quick, but you're saying the pace is going to speed up even more?
It's going to speed up even more, yeah. So I joked, like, in 4 years, they're going to be a startup. They're going to launch on Friday. They're going to reach 100 million users on Saturday. And they're going to be acquired for $1 billion on Monday. Right. That's the speed of things we're seeing now. And that sounds very unrealistic. But there was a startup like a year ago, and before they launched, they sold for 100 million. Right. Then there's WhatsApp. They You know, that was a year and a half, and then they sold. Or that was Instagram, for 16 billion.
Yeah,
right?
with the incredible sums, which sounds like a bubble economy. Let's be honest. Is there a point where the bubble's going to burst?
No, I don't think there's a bubble. No. So here's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
When Facebook bought WhatsApp, WhatsApp never made, $1.
No.
And they were sold for 16 billion.
Yeah.
So people ask me, like, that's a bubble, right? Because this is not sustainable. They're not making money, and then it's not a business. But the answer is that what Facebook bought was not a business. They have a business. It works great. Facebook's problem is staying relevant, right? Facebook is the hottest bar in town. Well, we'll go there because it's the hottest bar in town.
Right.
But when we see that our friends are going somewhere else, we'll go there.
Yeah.
And our friends were going to WhatsApp.
Right.
So what Facebook buys is relevancy.
Okay.
And they can afford it because they've got 40 billion in the bank.
Right.
So what they bought was relevancy, and that's a good buy.
Really?
So
you think it was okay?
Yeah. So WhatsApp is not a business in the sense that it will generate money. No, it's a tool that's relevant and has value for Facebook.
Well, let's talk about the internet and the bright, shiny internet of the future, which might provide more jobs, opportunities, startups, and all that good stuff. But what's the significance of a player like the Kaspersky Lab, Anonymous, the hackers, and for that matter, even the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists who are responsible for Lux leaks, HSBC leaks, and governments, even our freedom-loving Western governments might try to crack down. That's really disruptive, I would say. Does the Next Web have an opinion on the
Well, you asked me 3 questions in one.
I did indeed.
Yeah,
yes.
you did. So I'm an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs are optimistic. So I'm very optimistic, right?
Okay.
I think hackers are a huge problem, and it's getting worse. And usually, you need a few major incidents, before people open up their eyes and say, okay, this is actually something I got to spend time on.
Cybersecurity and
So in a way, I'm happy that these things come out,
Right.
and we have companies researching this and sort of waving a flag and saying, hey, this is happening. You got to pay attention.
Yeah.
And even at our company, right? The first few years, we didn't think about security. We didn't. Everybody's password was just like password, right?
Yeah.
Something simple, and then you grow a little bit bigger, and suddenly, you see one incident, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, this could affect me.
Yeah.
And now it's become routine at the company to think about these things.
Yeah, sure.
So,
at least
so
one person has to deal with encryption and security.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing where I sort of get defensive is where people start, fear mongering. And they say, oh, everything is going to shit because this is happening. We're like, no.
Yeah.
It's very important, right? It's important to know the risks.
Yeah.
It's like when you buy a cheap airplane ticket. It's maybe smart to wonder why it's cheap.
Exactly.
And if it's, right, what's the risk of taking this plane versus that one?
Yeah.
You shouldn't stop flying because sometimes a plane crashes.
Got it.
Because it's a risk reward.
And there are people out there saying, there's another plane crash. Even when I was on the plane, and there were images of plane crashing in Taiwan.
That's hilarious.
I said to the woman, like, how is this making me comfortable getting on the plane? And she said, like, but that only happens once in a while. Then again, and she was thinking out loud, it's happening more often. Like, what? Are we entering this sort of dystopia where everybody knows too much about everybody else and there's no privacy anymore, or is there a bright shiny future where we'll all be millionaires?
So a few years ago there was I spoke to a politician, and there was a Dutch right extreme party gaining momentum and getting more power, and I told him, like, if they're gonna come into power, I gotta move, right? Because this is awful.
Yeah.
And he said, no, democracy has a sort of self-cleaning mechanism. But every now and then you have to make a swing, it'll
the pendulum must swing.
And it will swing back. So it'll be all right.
Okay.
I think it's the same with these fears, right? Things will happen where you go like, oh my God, that's too much. And that refines where we want to be. Right? Okay. So I spoke to a girl yesterday whose like naked pictures were shared online. Everybody saw them, and it destroyed her life. And now she's an activist fighting against it.
Really? Yeah.
Which is great. Yeah. Because she's doing
there's a name for that, and I can't think of it. What is it?
It's porn shaming, revenge porn.
Revenge porn. Yes.
So This is a very valid discussion.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think the answer is, well, we should restrict freedom or something.
Right.
This is just a very shitty thing that some people do.
And yet such a bad example that everyone can agree, okay, we don't want that.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
No. And it's going to take a while, right? I remember the first time I went online, the first search engine, probably the first word I typed in was sex. Right? Because that's what you do when you're 14 and you get online. So, and then you do that for a few times, and then suddenly you're like, okay, there's too much of this.
Yeah.
Right, and then sort of you lose interest.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
so
really?
This is
well, you're the one.
Well, are we still there? Yeah. Anyway, because I got some stuff here.
Oh, yeah, right.
No, but so I think these things work like this, right? You get all this freedom, and you take full advantage of it.
Yeah.
And then at one point you sort of back out a little.
Again, another
like,
uniquely Dutch thing. Let your kids smoke all they want, take all the pills they want, drink all they want, watch all the porn they want, and then eventually, indeed, a lot of them say, like, wouldn't want to do that every day.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's the same with the internet. Go do whatever you want.
Right.
And we have some problems then in the beginning, but it'll work out.
Nice.
But don't ask me because I'm the optimist. Right?
Yeah. Well, again, if we want to know more about the Next Web, where do we go?
thenextweb.com.
Exactly.
And book a ticket. And see you in April.
Okay. And April 22nd, 23rd?
3rd, 24th.
23rd, 24th, coming up in Amsterdam. Thank you, Boris, from the Next Web. I'll follow you on
Twitter.
Yes, exactly. And if you want to follow us, again, hashtag GSUSE. Thanks to Boris from the Next Web, and thanks to Broadcast Amsterdam, as well as Salto for making this all possible. I'm Greg Shapiro.